Hey there, Russell traders. David here of TradingFibs.com to bring you the Russell recap for June 17, 2013. As always, please seek financial advisement when trading with your money, as these videos are for educational purposes only to support your knowledge in the market and see what's going through my head on any given day. Please always make sure you have a solid trading plan and never move your stop when placing a trade. Well, let's jump right into our four major indices today. As we can see that 25-minute open range really held most of the price action here on the ES and the YM, just hugging the top of the 25-minute open range. And the NASDAQ actually had the only breakout to the upside in the morning session, and then followed suit with the remainder of the indices towards the last 2 hours of the trading day, where all came under the 25-minute open range. Actually, the Russell having the nicest entry on the below 25-minute open range, and then retracing back to the bottom of the 25-minute open range low. So did I take any trades today? Two opportunities here on the Russell. First post hour and the second with 2 hours to go. I actually did not take any trades today. Sometimes sitting on the side is trading as well. Reason being that I decided to do that was the fact that market internals had started on the Russell pretty much in the positive for the day, and any down move was, to me, counteractive today. The very strong AD line starting up about around 1600, and obviously throughout the rest of the day just kept declining. The ticks, even distribution, up and down, green, red triangles made for a pretty much flat day, and then a decrease in the tick with a decrease in the AD, and as we see here, a decrease in the volume coming down and then popping up at the on the back end of the market. So trade number one was actually here at Pacific Coast time, right past the 7:30 hour. Post 1 hour open range is already set. The first 5-minute bar is coming underneath the 25-minute open range. So this would be a signal for looking for a setup. I have an EMA crossover over here. This would not be the bar at 7:38. The first bar here at 7:39 would be my entry. Taking a look at the daily pivots, as we can see here, price action was playing around with Friday's high at 987.2, came down and eventually hit a target of the daily R1. And so the daily R1 was the target. So placing a target down here at the daily R1, which was about 984, didn't have much room to go underneath the 25-minute open range and the 1 hour open range. Plus, I have the Surrey, S-U-R-I, Surrey range, post 1 hour open. Actually, these are 30-minute range, 30-minute values based on the 1 hour, based on a 1 hour open range chart. 30-minute values. Here you have the daily S1 with the target. So we have a daily R1, we have a daily S1, and we're approaching the CAM H4 level. So not much room to the downside. With market internal supporting an upside move, I decided not to take this entry. There's actually one other thing that I'd like to note that would have kept me out of this trade as well. Is here we have an entry, possible entry at 7:39. Take a look over here on the third chart, which I will have a nicer, bigger picture form on the blog. You could see the bar here, 7:39, has an EMA crossover, but if you notice, the 13 and the 21 are still above the 80. And what you'll see in the next trade that it came to the downside was actually a much better entry based on the EMA here and the EMA here, plus a price move price action underneath the 25-minute open range, and had a nicer profit taking. So setup number one was not a trade I was willing to enter. Setup number two, on the other hand, which I actually ended up not taking either and sat out today. And for whatever reason, I just decided not to take the trade based on probably the market internals, watching the other indices. And actually, let's go back to the indices for a second. If you notice, when the Russell started the dip here, and again, I'm just trading the chart in front of me and looking for congruence amongst my charts, but I also had market internal supporting up, market internal supporting up, market internal supporting up, and here I have a dive on the Russell, which pretty much kept me out. Now, back to the second trade, which actually occurred here at 11:05 Pacific Coast time. That's 2 o'clock East Coast time. I have a bar that's tucked under price action underneath the 5-minute range. I'm looking at my market internals. My tick is coming under 0. Moving my daily pivot and support resistance lines, I also have price action falling under. Already I'm here at 985, so 984. So I'm tucking under, so no entry would occur till at least I got underneath this resistance to the downside at daily R1, daily pivot down below right here. And I'm also looking at my Surrey range, and I'm looking at my 1-hour open range. I've already crossed the 1-hour open range, lining up with the 25-minute open range. So here we are, looking to the downside, and I'm looking at my EMA crossovers, which I definitely have a entry. And what you'll notice different here from the first trade of the day is 5-minute range, tucking under the R1 right here. I have a range chart, and what I also wanted you to notice is it says 100 here. This is a range chart, which usually is a 10-tick range chart. There's been a update on the Thinkorswim platform over the weekend, which actually added a decimal here, so still the same bar size, but just a different value. So right here at 11:08, nice selling Heikin-Ashi bar, solid body tangle, solid body with tail down, EMA crossover. And what you notice different on this one versus the first one is that my 5 is under the 13, the 21, and 80, and I'm coming underneath the 25-minute open range. It's not the lines have to be under, it's already price action is under with the 5 under. This is a much nicer entry than the first one. And as you can see, price just came all the way down and ended up supporting itself at the weekly pivot and the daily pivot and coming down to CAM H3. And so that ended up being the best trade of the day on momentum outside the 25-minute open range in lining up. And this is why I watch this 4 EMA chart, is because I have my 5E34 EMA, which would have kept me out of the first trade, but I like looking at this one as well. Here you have a nice lining up of the 4 EMAs together and then break down to the downside, which took in a nice healthy profit. Obviously, the weekly pivot here was a nice bounce back up, and it crossed back over the EMA. So here you had a really nice. Let's go ahead and just take a look at this chart in its full. There we go. So it really had a nice entry here, came down all the way to the weekly pivot. And I did not take the trade, but I'm sure if we had thrown a Fibonacci, line on it, we would have had a fib target, at least fib target 1 to the downside. I've taken the full fib line over here and the weekly pivot, and look at that, right to the line. Full move, 161.8%. All right, well, that concludes today's Russell Wrap. Feel free to stop by tradingfibs.com or any of my social media outlets to obtain more information. My trading mantra of know one thing, know it well rings true for all markets. Whether you trade the ES or Apple or Google, my plan will keep you disciplined. You can find me every day on Twitter at Trading Fibs, and as always, I leave the crystal ball to the experts. I only trade what's in front of me and on my charts. Have yourself a Blue Zone day.